Hello everybody, my name is Luis Gutierrez and welcome to another episode of the Geek Press. Today we got news about Half-Life 3 was actually a real thing. Left 4 Dead 3 was a real thing, at one point in time. Capcom has actually announced that 80% of their sales are digital copies. And Sony has actually invested $250 million in Epic Games. So let's just jump right into all of this. Let's just talk about Half-Life 3 and Left 4 Dead 3. It turns out that the rumors for both of those games were true all along, but as we all know, those games never saw the light of day. And we actually got some news on that, and it wasn't because of how comfortable Valve was, it was because of the Source 2 engine. In a documentary by Jeff Keighley called Half-Life Alyx Final Hours, takes a look at Valve and everything they did leading up to the release of Half-Life Alyx. And it turns out they actually did quite a lot. In a doc, it reveals a number of games that were cancelled from Half-Life 2 to Half-Life Alyx, and the two most notable games being Half-Life 3 and Left 4 Dead 3. As for Half-Life 3, it was cancelled for a number of reasons. The first being, the Source 2 engine, it wasn't finished and made development in the game unworkable. They were aiming to have a more replayable game by creating an in-depth story, as well as a unique gameplay experience every time you played it. How they planned on doing it was by having building placements and enemies randomized every time you played. They even scanned Frank Shelton, the actors whose likeness was used for the G-Men. The game was actually even in development from the years of 2013 to 2014, but of course the game didn't get very far. As for Left 4 Dead 3, it was actually going to be an open world game. It was going to take place in Morocco and feature hundreds of zombies on screen at a time, but was impossible to work on because of the unfinished Source 2 engine. And there were plenty of other game shelves too, such as an Elder Scrolls Dark Souls inspired RPG game and a handful of other VR games as well. But what's important to mention is that the Half-Life team isn't interested in making another Half-Life VR game. Valve's Phil Coe even said, "We're not afraid of Half-Life anymore." So who knows, we might actually be getting a Half-Life 3. Lastly, Valve is working on a top secret project. They've been working on it since 2018, and really not much is known about it, other than that it's a top secret game and they've been working on it for about 2 years now. For our next piece of news, we're just going to talk about Capcom, and 80% of their sales are actually digital sales. It's no secret now that hard copies are quickly dying out, with more and more people buying digital copies, and even next-gen consoles even having discless options for solely digital copies. And from what Capcom has announced, it only cements that idea even more. According to them, 80% of their games are sold digitally, and they're even pushing for that number to go higher to 90%. This was revealed during a Q&A annual shareholders meeting with Capcom when they were asked how they plan to boost digital sales. Capcom's digital growth has even seemed to grow faster than what they originally expected. It grew from 53.3% to 80% just last year, and they seem to credit a lot of this to Monster Hunter World's Iceborne. But they do plan on pushing their digital games to more people worldwide to help increase digital sales. And honestly, it's no surprise that this is happening, just because this seems to be the wave going forward. More and more people are buying digital games, such as myself. Most of the games that I own now are pretty much all digital copies. For the few hard copies that I do own are just like a handful of games that I really want to get. But majority of the games I buy, which I do buy games pretty often, they're all digital copies, so this does not surprise me one bit. This seems to be the wave going forward, and it wouldn't shock me one bit if the industry just got up and said, all right, we're not going to make disc copies anymore. But that probably would never happen for a number of reasons, but it wouldn't be shocking if it did happen. For our last bit of news, we're going to talk about why Sony has invested $250 million into Epic Games. Since Sony has invested so much money, they actually have a minority interest in Epic Games now. According to a press release, this investment lets the two companies broaden their collaboration across Sony's leading portfolio entertainment assets and technology and Epic's social entertainment platform and digital ecosystem to create unique experiences for consumers and creators. The two companies also hope to create more virtual multimedia experiences similar to what they do in Fortnite. Epic CEO and founder Tim Sweeney had this to say: "We share a vision of real-time 3D social experiences leading to a convergence of gaming, film, and music." Epic has confirmed that even though Sony owns a minority stake in Epic Games, that they will not be making exclusive titles for Sony. So I think that's something very important to mention. With that being said though, it is important to note that Sony and Epic have had a good relationship for some time now, and to be working very closely with one another. Sweeney even called the PS5 a remarkable balanced device. Epic even showed off the Unreal Engine 5 on a PS5 demo back in May of this year. So this actually comes as no surprise that that these two companies are even working closer together now, because they have been for some time now, but it's all mainly been like behind the scenes and stuff that really hasn't been as published as before. Of course, when they showed off the Unreal Engine 5, it was on PS5, and this was like fucking groundbreaking news, because it was like, oh my god, look at what the PS5 could handle. So it doesn't surprise me that Sony just said, give me a little chunk of the pie right here, that's mine permanently. And honestly, this came when I first read this honestly kind of shocked me a little, because I was like, damn, just Sony now just hogging up another company. But then again, Microsoft is kind of doing the same thing too. But it actually seems like this is going to be a good investment for both of them going forward, because it seems to be that they're both going to mutually benefit off of this, and we're going to get a lot more good stuff as a consumer, and it's not going to be any like exclusivities. And I know it's something I should mention, I am an Xbox fanboy, so that was my fear of hearing that Sony actually bought the studio. But with all that being said, my name is Luis Gutierrez. Sometimes I like to throw in my opinion here and there, sometimes I forget about it, but you know what, fuck it, okay? You know what you get when you're watching me. My name is Luis Gutierrez. This has been another episode of the Geek Press. Be sure to like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell. And if you guys really do like this stuff, I really do appreciate it, because I love talking about video games. I love talking about the news, everything. So this is completely awesome that I'm getting you guys to come in time and time again. And if you guys want to follow my social medias, I do have a social media for my personal Instagram, for my Twitch Instagram, and I have a social media for the Geek Press and a Twitter for the Geek Press too. But like I said before, some asshole came and took the Geek Press, so we are the Geek Press on both of them. And I'm going to be linking them both down below. And I'm going to link my Twitch channel if you guys want to watch me stream video games and just make an asshole of myself. I'm right there as well. And if you want to join the Discord, feel free to ask. I'll drop a link, but the link does expire after the first hour. But again, with all that being said, my name is Luis Gutierrez. Thank you for watching another episode of the Geek Press. Wherever it is you're watching me from right now, I hope you have a good day, good night, good afternoon, and I hope you all stay safe, and I love you guys, and I'll see you next time when I upload. Take care, everybody.